Well, guys, man, Stephen A. Smith, man, he's been getting drugged through the internet, man, been exposed by his colleagues, been exposed for all his lies that he's telling in this LeBron James situation, this LeBron James going back and forth. Um, there's a lot of things that are going on, but one of his old nemesis, man, has come to the rescue, to try to save Stephen A. Smith. But we're going to talk about all that here next on the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, man, this LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith feud has took a turn for the worse. Now, Skip Bayless has weighed in on the situation. Now, we all know who Skip Bayless is. Skip Bayless is a ongoing LeBron hater. Everybody knows what Skip Bayless does. Everybody knows what Skip Bayless says about LeBron James. He created this narrative about LeBron James back in 2005 on Cold Pizza, and he just started hating on LeBron ever since. But Skip Bayless has made a lot of money off of LeBron James because that's the only thing that he talks about is LeBron James and the Dallas Cowboys. So in this situation, LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith have been going back and forth, more so on the Stephen A. Smith side. Now, a lot of Stephen A. Smith colleagues have come out and exposed Stephen A. Smith for the lies that he's been telling. And Stephen A. Smith has been caught up in his own web of lies, and he's been exposed. Now, we heard what Michael Wilbon said about him. Michael Wilbon was pissed off because, when it comes to kids, Michael Wilbon stays away from that. And just like Michael Wilbon said, it's been situations where their producer wanted them to talk about certain things on the show, and Michael Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser, they stayed away from it. And, they wasn't having no parts of, talking about the Bronny James situation, because Michael Wilbon calls it pandering. I mean, pandering to talk about LeBron James' son 24/7 is diabolical. And there's other topics in sports and other things that are going on that you can talk about. But they wanted them to talk about Bronny James every day, and Michael Wilbon stayed away from it. So now Stephen A. Smith, through the back and forth, all he's doing is coming out with all these lies, and these people are exposing Stephen A. Smith for his lies. Now, Stephen A. Smith did a diabolical thing by bringing Kobe Bryant's memorial up, and then he stated that LeBron James didn't show up. So after that segment, he had to backtrack and walk back what he said and post on his X account that he takes back what he said. And, that just made him look bad right there. That was incriminating right there. Then we heard what Marcellus Wiley said about him. The real reason why you don't like LeBron James because of the situation you had with Max Kellerman. And T.O. came on the show and said, Max is more blacker than you. And then ultimately, a couple weeks later, Max Kellerman got ousted from ESPN First Take. And Stephen A. Smith went on a campaign on all these podcasts because people wanted to know what was the issue between him and Max. And people wanted to know. So he went on a world tour on everybody's podcast trying to, let everybody know that he had no problem with Max. He didn't want Max going. So the same thing with LeBron James situation. LeBron James goes on Pat McAfee and calls Stephen A. out, and Stephen A. gets his panties in a bunch, and then he goes on all these podcasts, like LeBron James said. He's on tour, Taylor Swift tour, trying to get all his rocks off. And that's what Stephen A's been doing. But in the mix to that, he's been lying the whole way through. And everybody sees Stephen A. Smith for what he is coming to this situation. Now, it's kind of funny that all your colleagues and your contemporaries are calling you out. And then Jason Whitlock weighed in and talked about Stephen A. Smith as a clown. He's running the biggest clown show on ESPN, and ESPN gave him $100 million to be the face of ESPN on their media platform. So that's caused a stir and a ripple effect through social media. But this thing has taking a turn because we all know that LeBron James is a calculated dude. He went on the Pat McAfee show, and that kind of, stuck a fork in Stephen A. Smith because it's known out there and it's led to believe that Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee do not have a great relationship. They're two competitors, and they think that Pat McAfee has a bigger platform than Stephen A. Smith, and they're competing against each other. And LeBron James went on that podcast and spoke about Stephen A. Smith and some other things. Then Kendrick Perkins weighed in, and Kendrick Perkins said some things that he used the race baiting card, and Richard Jefferson exposed Kendrick Perkins for the lies that Kendrick Perkins was saying. So then now it comes to the point where, recall, Skip Bayless is not on no major network no more. So Skip Bayless don't have no motion in these streets. Skip Bayless is the podcast. We really don't have that much motion going on. So Skip Bayless is going to be relevant again. So he had Stephen A. Smith on his podcast. How ironic, right? How ironic. Stay with me. There's layers to this. Stay with me. So then you take it a step further. So what does Skip Bayless do? Knowing the hate that he has for LeBron James, Skip Bayless put a little plot twist to it and says that LeBron James ambushed and premeditated everything that led up to when he approached Stephen A. Smith on March 6th in Crypto.com Arena when the Lakers played the New York Knicks, same day that Stephen A. Smith signed a $100 million deal. So now Skip Bayless has put a plot twist to it because you all know how Skip Bayless feels about LeBron. So now he is the one that's coming to Stephen A. Smith's defense. So by him doing that, I guess he thinks that, Stephen A. Smith is going to put him on somewhere. They can reunite. They can be back on a talk show together. So he used a calculated move by coming out, having Stephen A. Smith almost like being Stephen A. Smith's bodyguard, his backup plan, because everybody else is just roasting Stephen A. Smith for everything that he's doing. And Stephen A. Smith in this battle, he can't win. And LeBron James is not even saying nothing no more. LeBron James took a clip of you hitting the punching gloves with the uppercuts because you said if LeBron James would have put his hands on you, you would have swung. So that clip that you posted had LeBron go to his Instagram and post your boxing workout. And everybody was in the comments making fun of you. And now that really irritated you. So now that everybody has came out to expose you, now you got your boy Skip Bayless wanting to have your back. But before we get off into what Skip Bayless had to say, right now I'm at 15,050 subscribers. Now I'm on my way to 16,000. If you're now and first time coming across this video, coming across this platform, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. And with the support of you guys, like I keep saying, we can get to 16,000. 3 days ago, I just eclipsed 14,000. 3 days later, I'm over 15,000. Appreciate all the love and support. Now let's get off into what, Skip Bayless had to say on the Skip Bayless show. Let's take a listen.
Pride is on the line. Dad's pride is not rational. It's not sane anymore. And LeBron knows deep down that his reputation is at stake. And he desperately needs it to be validated by Bronny's NBA growth and performance. As Stephen A. said, we all know Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad. Bingo. So it was on that fateful Thursday night, March the 6th. Stephen A. did something I'm not sure he's ever done. I could be wrong about this, but he sat courtside at a Laker game out here in LA as a fan because his Knicks were in town for their one and only visit to Crypto.com for the season. Now, I watched every dribble of that game on TV, but what happened between LeBron and Stephen A was not shown, possibly because the broadcast had gone to commercial. This was during a stoppage of play, some kind of dead ball situation, a timeout, a replay review. I'm not sure what it was, but the game had stopped in the third quarter, and LeBron walked straight over to Stephen A., pretty much blindsided him during the game, and according to Stephen A., said, "You got to stop talking shit about my son. You got to stop fucking with my son. That's my son. That's my son," said Stephen A. Stephen A. also said he responded with, "Let's talk about it after the game." But as he said that, LeBron was turning away and walking back out onto the floor because the game was about to resume. So the entire exchange took, 8 seconds? Now think about this. How weak was that on LeBron's part to choose that time and that place to deliver that message?
Wow.
LeBron knew exactly what he was doing. He knew this one-sided confrontation would be captured on cell cameras and that the video would immediately explode all over the internet and that lip readers would have a field day, or in this case, a field night.
That's a fact.
But this was a flat-out ambush, a drive-by, a premeditated and calculated move by LeBron James to show up Stephen A. in front of the NBA world while giving Stephen A. no face-to-face time to respond. I mean, what if Stephen A. had at least been able to say, "LeBron, your son's a great kid, but he can't make threes, and I haven't seen him play any defense yet."
And you heard what Skip Bayless had to say. Now, there was one point where Stephen A. Smith said that Stephen A. said to LeBron, "Well, why come we can't talk about this? Why come we can't talk about this later at a different time?" If that's the case, why come Stephen A. Smith never made reference to that? Why come Stephen A. Smith never said that's what he told LeBron? Only thing that he wanted to focus on, if he would have touched me, I was going to swing. But he never said that he pleaded to talk to LeBron after the game face to face. Stephen A. Smith never addressed that. Think about that, guys. But Skip Bayless is the one that's coming to Stephen A.'s defense because of the fact the way Stephen A. Smith is getting annihilated in the media and through social media with all his lies. He's caught up in this web of lies. Now you got to be the bodyguard. Now you're coming out saying things that Stephen A. Smith never even addressed. He never said that he told LeBron, "Well, we can talk about this later. Let's address this later." Why come Stephen A. Smith never said none of that stuff? That's things that make you wonder. Is this a calculated move by Skip Bayless? Try to get back on? Think about that, guys. I see everybody in the comment section. #salute. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Oh yeah, just in case I forgot. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And that's going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. Catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.